Hi, I'm Richard Rose, Artistic Director of the Tarragon Theatre, and I want to welcome you to Tarragon Acoustic, an online celebration of Tarragon's history and future. While the theatres may be closed, I'm thrilled you could join us as we present a series of audio plays from Tarragon's 50-year history and into the future. This exciting series features some of Canada's top actors from across the country, recorded remotely in their respective homes during this age of physical distancing. But first, Tarragon Theatre would like to acknowledge this sacred land on which we gather and operate is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat, and any other nations who cared for the land in its history. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. The territory is the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Of curiosity to you, it might be noted that Davenport Road, just up the street from the Tarragon, was once the lakeshore of Lake Ontario. And many centuries later, or if not millennia, it became a portage path for Native communities to travel from the Don River to the Humber River, and now, of course, today is Davenport Road. Today, this meeting place of Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to work in the community on this territory. Our next play in the series is 7 Stories by Morris Panitch. A man contemplates leaping to his death from the ledge of a 7-story building, but is interrupted by the residents who are too caught up in their own lives to notice. Morris Panitch is well known as a writer of comedy and a satirist on contemporary society, but I think his play 7 Stories takes the audience one step further to question the meaning of life and to illuminate the possibility of hope in the face of despair. Morris, the philosopher, takes the very serious subject of suicide and reveals to us the absurdity of human existence. And thus, 7 Stories is definitely a Canadian classic performed around the world. And now we ask you to sit back, put on those headsets, and enjoy.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Let go of me! Let go!
So help me God, Charlotte.
What?
Give me back my wallet.
I'll drop it, you bastard.
What's wrong with you? Are you crazy?
Yes, I am.
My gold card is in there.
Oh, is it? Is your gold card in here? Oh my goodness, so it is. And your racket club membership? Woohoo! And a lovely picture of your lovely wife. We mustn't drop that, must we? We wouldn't want someone picking her up off the street.
Give it here.
Leave me alone, or I'll call the police.
You wouldn't dare.
Help! Police!
Shut up!
You struck me.
I did not.
Yes, you did. He struck me. Help!
I did not. Shut up.
Yes, you did. You bastard. Help!
You're quite unattractive when you're dying. Did you know that, Charlotte? You lose all your charm. You lose all your sparkle. Charlotte, I believe you're turning blue. It's most unbecoming. Is that all you've got to say, Charlotte? Ordinarily, you're so outspoken. One might even say loud and conspicuous. What's that you say, Charlotte? Yes, the view from here is breathtaking, isn't it?
Excuse me! Would you mind letting go of her? You're hurting her.
Hurting her? Am I hurting you, Charlotte?
Yes.
I am sorry you were right. I was hurting her, and thank you for pointing that out. Why don't we go inside, Charlotte? We seem to be attracting a crowd.
I am not going anywhere with you. You tried to kill me.
Kill you? Really, Charlotte? Now, why would I do that? She has an overactive imagination, dabbles in the creative arts.
Oh.
Dabbles?
You're misinterpreting the facts once again, Charlotte. Apparently, she misunderstood my intentions. Come inside, Charlotte.
Misunderstood nothing. You tried to kill me, Rodney. He saw the whole thing, didn't you? He's a key witness, and we know all about key witnesses, don't we? Rodney's a lawyer.
Oh.
Charlotte, I'm warning you.
And of course, we know all about lawyers, don't we?
Actually, he's the only one I've met.
Really?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Well, in that case, let me fill you in. Lawyers are the people who bore you to death with the facts. By the way, Rodney, why would you go through all the trouble of strangling me when you simply could have bored me to death?
You're making a public spectacle.
My goodness, that would have been the perfect crime. I would have died, slowly, over the course of one of our romantic evenings together, hanging, as it were, on his every word.
I need a drink.
Would you like a drink? Fix us a drink, would you, Rodney? Yes. I suppose you're wondering why I don't just leave him.
Well,
That's a very good question. Rodney, what the gentleman wants to know is why I don't just leave you.
Does he?
I don't really...
Shall I tell him? He's not answering. He's standing there giving me that look again. Don't just stand there giving me that stupid look. I'm not threatened by you in the least. He thinks I'm threatened. In case you forgot, I have a key witness here who fully intends to testify at your attempted murder trial.
I don't think I'll be around.
You won't? Why not?
What a pity, Charlotte. Your key witness won't be around. I can quite understand your reservations, considering her history. Get in here.
Don't listen to him. He'll say anything. He spins a web of lies like a spider.
Really, Charlotte, I'm surprised at your use of such a tired metaphor, and you call yourself a poet.
You see? He tries to make you lose your train of thought.
I shouldn't think you need any help with that.
Where's my drink?
Haven't you had enough? She loses count after 10 cocktails. Anyway, I'm leaving.
Ha!
Where are my Italian brogues?
Most people wear shoes. I have no idea. Perhaps I threw them out the window.
Did you?
I honestly can't remember.
You've hidden them. Where are they? What's she done with my shoes?
I told you I can't remember. Besides, you happen to be interrupting our conversation.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
It's quite all right.
Don't pay any attention to him. As I was saying, the reason I don't leave here is because Rodney and I are inseparable. The question of leaving, although it arises constantly, is, dare I say, moot. Moot! Is that all right, Rodney?
What?
Can I say, the question of my leaving is moot?
You can say whatever you like.
He's not usually so generous with my word usage. He finds himself correcting just about everything I say.
Irrelevant.
What?
The question of your leaving is irrelevant.
Thank you. You see?
Yes, I see.
But I suppose you don't think the question is irrelevant, since he just tried to kill me?
Well...
Rodney?
What? For heaven's sake.
He doesn't think the question of my leaving is irrelevant.
Who doesn't?
He doesn't.
Well, he doesn't know the facts.
Oh, apparently you don't know the facts. Only Rodney, of course, knows the facts. The world according to Rodney. My God, where would we be without all those specific details? Life would be so vague, perhaps even meaningless.
Yes.
When you come to think of it, the Rodneys of this world are man's salvation in a way. They build us the ramparts, stone by stone, each one another absolute little certainty. Another fact, all piled high against the onslaught of the absurd truth.
Really, Charlotte, you sound like a cheap novelist.
It's poetry!
Here's your drink.
Thank you. Naturally, he despises poetry. He despises all art. Because art is the act of climbing to the top of that ridiculous wall of his and standing on the ledge to look out into a cruel and pointless world, devoid of meaning, where fact is merely fiction. And anybody with any courage would simply leap off the edge and be done with it.
I could give you a little push if you'd like.
Go ahead and push me.
I wouldn't provoke him.
Oh, good heavens, that would be much too quick for him. He'd rather kill me little by little than all at once.
One more word, and I'll blow your head off.
I do hope that's a gun, Rodney, and not just your finger.
That's our little secret. Now come inside. I don't want any witnesses this time.
Will you excuse us?
Was that gunfire?
I
Was
don't...
somebody gunned down or what?
I'm not sure.
I just love your neighborhood. It's so third world.
Shut up! Shut up, for God's sake, shut up. I'm trying to get some sleep.
Oh, I know. I tried that once. Scary, isn't it?
What's she talking about?
I was just lying there and I could hear myself breathing. You know, I thought, oh God, I can hear myself breathing. I'll never try that again. Wow, your friend is so intense.
He's not...
Do you ever feel like throwing yourself out of a building? Whenever I get too close to the edge, I just feel like jumping. Isn't that wild? It's probably symbolic. Will you excuse me? It's not that I don't like you or anything, because I really do. It's just that there's too many pauses in this conversation.
Listen, lady. Where'd she go? She wasn't even there. Oh, my God. She wasn't even there. What do you want? A likely story. What?
I think there might have been a murder committed.
A murder. Oh, so that's where she went.
No, your neighbors.
My neighbors murdered her?
No,
She murdered my neighbors?
it's got nothing to do with her. I think there's been a murder committed. I think you should call the police.
Now, let me get this straight. You murdered the neighbors?
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. Are you trying to tell me I'm hearing things? Is that what you're trying to say? I distinctly heard you say you murdered my neighbors. That it had nothing to do with her.
All I said was, I think there's been a murder committed. There was an argument. Didn't you hear the gunshot?
Gunshot. I didn't hear any gunshot. Are you sure it was gunshot?
Positive.
Oh, dear. This is a new twist. Usually I'm hearing things. Now I'm not hearing things. Oh, dear. I've gone deaf.
Hadn't we better call the police?
Did you say something just now?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Of course I am. I said, we'd better call the police.
Oh, good. Well, I heard that quite distinctly, every word of it.
Look, this could be serious.
Do you think so? I'm only a little tense, that's all. If I had some sleep, I'd be just fine. Maybe it's just a little wax buildup.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Aren't we both talking about the same thing?
I was talking about your neighbors, about the gunshot.
The gunshot. Yes. About whether I heard it or not.
Look, that doesn't matter.
It matters to me.
There was a gunshot. That's all that matters. Just call the police.
Now, how can you expect me to do that? I didn't even hear a gunshot. What am I supposed to tell them? When and if they answer? Am I supposed to admit that I didn't even hear a gunshot from 20 feet away? Or am I supposed to pretend that I'm hearing things? They'll think I'm insane.
What difference does it make?
They ask your name. Am I supposed to lie about that as well? They'll just find out anyway. Because they'll trace the call back to me. Why did I have to get dragged into this?
Why are you taking it so personally? It's got nothing to do with you.
Oh, that's right. Accuse me of being one of those.
One of what?
Those people who shut themselves off from the rest of the world.
Good God, I wasn't accusing you of anything.
Yes, you were.
No, I wasn't.
Are you positive about that?
Of course I am. I don't even know you.
Well, there was a tone of accusation in your voice. You have to admit it.
I think you're just being paranoid.
Why would you say that? You don't know anything about paranoia. What experience do you have in that field, if any?
None.
A likely story. What'd you say?
I said I don't have any experience in the field.
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, I don't know anything about paranoia.
Oh, implying that I'm paranoid.
Not at all.
By inference. Saying that you don't know anything about it, inferring that I know a great deal.
You said so yourself.
I did not.
You indicated as much.
This is a trap. You're trying to trap me into something, aren't you? You think I'm insane, that I've completely lost my grip on reality, and that's where you're wrong. I happen to be painfully cognizant of the world around me. I might be going deaf, but I'm not blind. I'm a qualified professional, and I'm trained to keep my eyes wide open.
What do you want?
Is everything all right?
Couldn't be better.
I heard a gunshot. I thought maybe there'd been an accident.
Charlotte?
What?
The gentleman heard a gunshot. He thought there'd been an accident. Isn't that amusing? As a matter of fact, there was a bit of an accident. I aimed for her head and accidentally hit the wall. But thank you for your concern.
Ah! What happened?
I don't know. You fell asleep.
No, I didn't. What?
You fell asleep.
I did? Well, of course I did. What do you expect?
I don't know.
That's right. You don't. I haven't slept more than 2 hours in the past month. I never sleep. I work nights.
So why don't you sleep during the day?
Why do you want me to go to sleep?
I don't. It makes no difference to me.
Just what are you planning?
Me? I'm not planning anything. I was only thinking. For your well-being.
My well-being? You think I'm not well?
I never said that.
Somebody told you something, didn't they?
No, nobody told me anything.
Why didn't they? Why would they keep you in the dark?
Who?
I don't know. Has it occurred to you that you could be an innocent pawn in all of this? A dupe?
No.
Well, you see, you're naive. You're the perfect candidate for them to carry out their insane plan.
What insane plan?
Well, they didn't tell you, of course. They wouldn't want you to know.
Know what? Who's they?
You said you heard a gunshot, right?
Yes, I did, but...
Coming from where?
Your neighbors, but...
Well, they're in on it too. Don't you see?
No. It's all been a mix-up. I mean, I heard a gunshot, but it turns out it was nothing.
Nothing. You don't know what's going on in the world, do you?
I used to think I did. I don't know. No, I don't.
I suppose you think all these things happen by chance. Just one great, big, happy coincidence. Gunshots are fired, then they're not fired. A woman appears who was never there. That light in that apartment over there? I guess you didn't notice that either. Because you don't think these things are important.
Light?
Over there. It just went on. Don't look.
And
And what?
I don't get it.
Of course you don't get it. You don't know the code. Fortunately, I do. I have deciphered the code. I know exactly what's going on. Ah, there goes that other light. Don't look.
There's lights going on and off all over the place. You don't think everyone's in on it?
In on what? There is something, isn't there?
I'm not really sure anymore.
And you think I'm confused?
I never said you were.
Well, who said I was then?
Nobody.
Well, where'd you get that information?
I have no information. I don't know anything.
Oh? Well, I don't think I know anything either. In fact, I don't even know what we're talking about.
That makes two of us.
Two of us?
I don't know what you're talking about either.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Was I being incoherent? What does that mean?
You're bound to take it the wrong way.
What?
Whatever I say.
What are you going to say?
Nothing.
You can tell me. What is it? Is there something I should know about myself?
Look, it's none of my business.
What? What's none of your business?
You asked if you're being incoherent. I don't know what to say. If I tell you you were, you'll fly into a panic. If I tell you you weren't, you'll think I'm trying to hide something from you. You take everything I say the wrong way.
You think I'm insane?
Now there's a case in point. I don't think you're insane. I don't think anything. The word insane didn't even enter into it.
Yes, it did.
Well, you said it. I didn't say it. I'm in no position to judge the state of your mind. I'm not a psychiatrist.
A psychiatrist? Why would you mention a psychiatrist? I never said anything about a
I was
psychiatrist.
only making a point.
Well, you can make a point without mentioning a psychiatrist, can't you? You could have mentioned a proctologist.
Why would I do that?
Precisely.
Very well then. Have it your way. Let me correct myself. What I meant to say is, I'm in no position to judge your state of mind. I'm not a proctologist. Is that better?
Why are you making fun of me?
I'm sorry?
Do you find psychiatry amusing? Well, let me tell you, it's no joke.
I didn't say it was.
Oh, I realize it's an easy target for satire. One might even say an obvious one. But it's serious work involving a lot of time and dedication, and we don't get paid nearly as much as you'd like to think.
You're a psychiatrist?
Why would you say it like that? What are you implying?
I'm not implying anything. I'm a little surprised, that's all.
Why should you be? Do you think there's something strange about me? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not even looking at you.
Why aren't you looking at me? Are you afraid of me? Are you afraid I'll find something out about you? Some dark, terrible secret? You can tell me I'm a psychiatrist. Here, why don't you take my card? You can set up an appointment with my secretary. I work nights at the loony bin, but I have a private practice in the morning. I've got to run now. It's time to get up and go to work. I haven't slept in 3 years, but what difference does that make to them? They're all on drugs. They sleep all the time. I hate insane people. They drive me crazy. I don't mean literally crazy. You didn't take that literally, did you?
No.
Are you patronizing me?
No.
In the future, don't patronize me. I'm the doctor. I'll do all the patronizing. You'll find once we've begun to develop a professional relationship that you'll come to rely on me for emotional support. I'll be carrying the weight of all your problems so that you can feel free to let go. You won't have to hang on to your sanity. I'll be the one who's hanging on. That's my job.
Oh, pardon me. I hope you don't mind my smoking. It's my last cigarette.
That's all right.
Would you like one?
I don't know. I've never tried one before.
Here, be my guest. You can take them all.
I guess it can't do any harm now.
And I certainly won't be smoking them.
I have a question I forgot to ask you. My God. He wasn't even there.
I'm over here. I'm having a cigarette.
Who's that?
A gentleman. I don't know his name. We only just met.
It's Marshall. Actually, it's Mike.
Well, who is he?
I don't know. We only just met. What was your question?
What question?
You have a question you forgot to ask me.
What sort of question?
I don't know.
Well, what? Was it a personal question?
You were the one who wanted to ask it.
Oh, then it was personal.
I really don't know.
Could I have a word with you for a moment?
What is it?
What does he want?
I don't think he wants anything. I think he's just having a cigarette.
Does he know about our conversation?
No, I don't think so.
Well, don't say a word to him. Keep it private.
All right.
We must pretend that we never spoke.
We're speaking now.
Act like you don't know me.
I don't.
Otherwise, he might get the wrong idea. He'll think that just because you're seeing a psychiatrist that you're insane. And that kind of information can get into the wrong hands.
Friend of yours?
No, I don't know him.
Best to keep it that way. People know far too much about each other these days. I much prefer to form my own false impressions, don't you?
I really don't like to speculate.
What difference does it make? The truth is irrelevant. One's own opinion, on the other hand, is far more appealing. One should always form a strong opinion, one way or the other, regardless of the facts.
That seems to be a popular theme around here.
After all, it's about the only thing people are entitled to. Except for me. I've completely relinquished my personality. I've even relinquished my hair color. Can you believe it?
That's not your real hair color?
Oh, there's no need to pretend you didn't know.
I didn't.
I won't be offended if you don't like it. I'm not that sort of person. But you can decide what sort of person I am for yourself. And anyway, it's got nothing to do with me. It's my wife's decision, really. Well, it's not really a decision. But then she's not really my wife, is she? Not yet, but almost.
You're getting married.
Yes. In a little over half an hour, my life, as you and I know it, will be over. Finished, buttered out, extinguished.
I suppose congratulations are in order?
Don't be absurd. Congratulations aren't in order at all. On the other hand, I don't expect any sympathy. You wouldn't feel the least bit sorry for me if you knew the whole story. Is my mustache on straight?
It looks fine.
Of course it doesn't look fine. Don't be ridiculous. I'm only asking if it's straight. This damn glue doesn't stick properly.
You mean it's false?
Couldn't you tell?
No.
Oh, good. Of course, I suppose it'll fall off in the middle of the ceremony, and that'll be the end of it. I really ought to have grown one, but I can't stand mustaches. The itching drives me mad. Oh, God, I've only got half a cigarette left. It seems to be burning awfully fast. Isn't that always the way? You're not smoking yours.
I'm sorry. I don't find it very pleasant.
Well, don't waste it. For God's sake, here, I'll finish it. If I had the time, I'd smoke the whole pack. But the best man is waiting for me. He thinks I'm in the bathroom. Thank God for bathrooms. Where would we be without them, eh? Those little private oases in the desert of eternal wedlock. Wedlock. There's a good name for it. Sounds like padlock, doesn't it? What a perfect description for marriage. Wedlock. The penitentiary of betrothal. I imagine I'll be spending the rest of my life locked in a bathroom somewhere. Oh, no. There's no need to be concerned about it. The house has 7 different bathrooms, excluding the en-suites.
No, it's not that.
What is it then? You look troubled.
I'm sorry. It's no business of mine, but why are you wearing a false mustache?
Well, it's part of my character, isn't it?
It is?
He wears a mustache. His hair is auburn and he doesn't smoke, among other things. And his name is Marshall. And I keep losing my accent.
You mean to say that's not your real accent?
Well, it is now that I've fully adopted this character.
You had me fooled.
That's the idea.
It's so realistic.
Well, there's a lot at stake, isn't there?
There is?
About 150 million, I'd say, give or take a million. But who's counting?
Dollars?
Dollars, debentures, stocks, bonds, futures, securities, you name it.
Yours?
If I play my part well enough. If the mustache doesn't fall off at the altar.
And what if it does?
Then they'll wonder, won't they? Wouldn't you?
Well, yes, I'm wondering now.
Are you in some sort of trouble, madam?
Help me.
Should I call the police this time?
He tried to kill me.
Oh dear. Again?
Again?
Marshall!
It's that horrible little flower girl. Will you excuse me?
Again?
What?
You mean to say he tried to kill you before?
On several occasions, not the least of which was my birthday.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Get in here.
Don't you think that's insensitive?
Well, yes,
Rodney!
What?
This gentleman thinks it's incredibly insensitive that you tried to kill me on my birthday.
Oh, does he?
He
doesn't know the whole story.
Oh, you don't know the whole story.
And what's more, it wasn't your birthday.
It was my birthday. He has a tremendous sense of occasion.
You're distorting the facts again.
Why do you treat each other this way?
It's all words and gestures. Pomp. There's absolutely no substance to it.
He was choking you to death.
Oh, that. It gives him a tremendous sense of power to hear me gasping helplessly for air.
And the gun?
Blanks.
You were both just pretending?
Oh, I don't know. There's such a fine line between truth and fiction, isn't there? It's the subject of a number of foreign films. Oh, for God's sake, Rodney, what are you doing now?
I'm killing all your goldfish.
Did you hear that? He's killing all my goldfish.
Yes, I heard.
The neighbors can hear you, Rodney.
What? Killing a fish?
He's not really doing anything. He's standing there looking at my goldfish, giving them that look, that deadly look. Yes, I was only acting.
Pardon?
I was pretending to die? He finds it amusing.
Oh, well, I don't.
Then why were you watching us?
I happen to be here, that's all.
I see.
Come inside, Charlotte. I've got a knife and I want to cut your head off.
That knife isn't even sharp. You'd have to poke my head off with that.
Now there's an idea.
He's threatening to cut my head off with a butter knife. Can you imagine?
No, not really.
Well, at least it's something. I suppose there's a certain affection in it. It keeps the relationship alive anyway. It used to be one of those dreary, mindless little affairs that start with a bang and end with a whimper. We weren't even lovers anymore. Just zombies. You can't imagine. He started reading the paper at dinner. I started having another affair. You can't believe how complicated that is, cheating on the man you're cheating with. Anyway, it had all the trappings of a marriage, which is precisely what both of us were trying to escape. We began to dread seeing one another. Finally, I suppose out of sheer exasperation, dear Rodney, the boring lawyer, tried to run me down with his car. It's hard to explain, but as I lay on the curb, half conscious, I felt revitalized. We both did, and we've been trying to kill each other ever since.
Charlotte!
It's not entirely an act. We really do hate each other, but there's something to be said for that, isn't there? There's a certain zeal to it.
They're quite an item, those two.
You know them?
I've seen them around. She tried to stab him to death in the hallway last week. It's really an incredible love story.
Love?
What would you call it?
Oh,
I forgot. You don't like to speculate on these things.
no.
I do. I think they're deeply and passionately in love, and I think that one day soon, quite by accident, there will be casualties. It's not my kind of love, mind you. I'm much more inclined toward the romantic, the sentimental, the sort of love that brings a tear to the eye, like a good television commercial. Counterfeit emotion is really my style. Counterfeit everything.
Like your mustache.
It is perfect when you think about it.
What is?
This masquerade.
Wouldn't it be easier just to be who you are?
I wonder what that would be. Anyway, it wouldn't be what she wants. This is what she wants, so this is what she gets. After all, I'm being well compensated for it, so what do I care? It's no worse than what I was doing, just a little more involved.
What were you doing?
Acting. I was acting for a living.
Oh, you're an actor.
Well, not anymore. I've forfeited that as well, along with my name. It used to be Mike Merchant. I take it you've never heard of me. Well, but then why would you have? I was never really very good. Quite second-rate, in fact. I played all the great roles, but I've played them all very badly. Acting is such a desperately futile profession anyway. Playing out the lives of other men, knowing of their failures and successes long before they ever do, living, suffering, murdering, dying, all in the space of 3 hours, sometimes only 2, and in such a confined little area. And over again, every night. Can you imagine anything more perfectly stupid? Squeezing a whole existence into a measly evening's entertainment on the stage? And not only that, in the middle of it all, pausing for an intermission. Makes one's own life seem unbearably preposterous, doesn't it?
Yes, I suppose it does.
So I'm more than happy to give it up.
But you're acting now.
Well, yes, but this is different, isn't it?
Is it?
Most certainly and definitely. This is one play where the curtain never goes down. I will play this character until I die. Or until she does. But that's another story.
No, Michael, please.
Pull yourself together, Joan. Be a little more objective.
Michael.
Joan!
Oh, no. It was family.
Yes, but it was completely out of fashion.
It meant a great deal to me, Michael.
My mother meant a great deal to me, Joan, but she didn't go with anything either.
I don't get it. I just can't understand why your fiancé would want you to be someone else.
She doesn't want me to be someone else. As far as she's concerned, I am someone else. I'm Marshall. She doesn't know anything about Mike Merchant, and she never will. In about 5 minutes from now, Mike Merchant will disappear from the face of the earth. He'll be nothing but a fleeting memory.
Where will he go?
That's probably a very interesting philosophical question, but I'm not a philosopher. I'm Marshall.
So you said.
Yes, well, it doesn't hurt to remind myself. She first met me, she first met him one night about a year ago. I was playing Horatio and, as usual, playing it very badly. Not only that, but on this particular evening, I was also playing it very fast. The Flights of Angels had never so quickly sung poor Hamlet to his rest. I had a date with destiny, you see. Actually, I had a date with a sailor.
A sailor? A male sailor?
Yes, it's funny now that I think about it. Well, it's all an act, anyway, isn't it? The whole stupid, dumb show. Life, I mean. His name was Marshall, and it was him I was thinking about as I dashed from the theater, still in makeup, and in this ridiculous hair color and mustache, when this sleek, red Mercedes came roaring around the corner.
So she hit you?
Almost hit me, but she'll never know. I must say, it was a much better performance than the one I'd just given. And I thought, well, a Mercedes. There's got to be a little money here somewhere. And, as it turns out, there was. Quite a little.
150 million.
It does come trippingly off the tongue, doesn't it? Like the name Marshall. It seemed to suit the scenario. More like the name of the sort of person who might be worth her while. Anyway, it worked. She loved the name, she loved the hair color, and she adored the mustache. And the rest of the character just slowly fell into place until it was exactly what she wanted. She couldn't have done better if she'd ordered me from a catalog, which is just the sort of thing she usually does. Who'd believe it, eh?
I would think she'd be bound to find out the truth.
Well, as I say, who'd believe it?
But what about family and friends?
They go with the forfeit, vanish into thin air.
They'll see you in the street.
We'll hardly be traveling in the same circles. And if they ever do see me, I'll simply remind them of someone they used to know.
But what about records of birth? That sort of thing. Don't you have to prove who you are? Even to get a marriage license?
I have a friend in props. He's very good.
Well, you just can't appear out of nowhere. What about parents?
Yes, those were difficult parts to cast.
You mean there are others in on this?
Oh, just a couple of old actors in need of a steady job. I have to admit, she's a bit of a ham, calls me son too much, but I pass it off as eccentricity. The in-laws find them terribly charming. And there's an uncle. He's an old friend of mine. I owe him a few favors, so he's part of the family now. It's quite a collection. Between them, they've come up with more than a few fond memories of my childhood.
This is a total fraud!
Well, we're looking at it more like a long run.
What's more, it's immoral!
Don't be ridiculous. It's nothing of the kind. It's simply patronage of the arts. It all depends on your point of view. And anyway, no one's doing anyone any harm.
But you've given up your family, your friends. You're making a complete mockery out of your existence. A joke. Doesn't your life mean anything?
Well, I've lived so many, haven't I? Lives are just short little episodes. You're on, and then you're off. Just like that. Which reminds me, I'm off.
Excuse me.
Oh, good. You're still here. Here, take a couple of these.
What are they?
Oh, you know, the usual.
There's nothing wrong with me. Nothing psychiatric. I don't really have any of the necessary symptoms.
Then you'll want to take a couple of these before you take a couple of those. Otherwise, there's no reason to take any of those. These ones pick you up, and those ones bring you down. So it's really better if you take them both at the same time. That'll keep you more or less balanced until I get back from the booby hatch.
How long are you going to be out there, roughly speaking?
Huh?
Are you going to be out there for long?
I have no idea.
Oh. Well, don't rush. I can wait. Will it be more than 10 minutes?
What?
Will it be more than 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes?
I don't really know.
Oh. So you really don't know how long you'll be?
Does it make any difference?
No, I suppose not. Not if you're preoccupied
Preoccupied?
with your thoughts.
Oh, yes, I am.
You have your thoughts and you need somewhere to think them. Someplace private, I understand.
You do?
Well, of course. I value my privacy too. A person needs to be alone with God.
God?
So go ahead. I'm not going to bother you anymore.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. What are you doing?
Oh, it's nothing. Really?
What is that?
What?
On that string.
String?
In your hand.
Are you asking me what I've got in my hand? Is that what you want to know?
Yes, well, no. Well, I know what you've got. You've got some money.
Well, then you don't need to ask.
On a string?
I thought you had some thinking to do.
I do, but I just couldn't help noticing. That's all.
I'm sorry if I was distracting you.
Well, it's not my place, really. I mean, I don't belong here. It's your business what you do with your money. If you want to lower it on a string, that's your business.
It does seem odd from this perspective, I'll admit. When you see it from above, you're getting the 7th-story perspective. If you were on the 6th story, this would look quite different.
Yes, I'm sure it would.
But please don't let me interrupt. You were in the middle of prayer.
No, I wasn't. In fact, I'm not even sure I believe in God.
Sometimes in a person's life, they're not really sure. They lose their faith. They become pragmatic about things. They need hard evidence of God's existence. But the evidence of God is everywhere.
Where?
Well, since you asked about the money, I'll tell you. There's a man here just below us on the 6th floor. Last night, he turned to God for help. He's in a great deal of trouble. He drinks quite heavily, you see. His wife left him 3 years ago. Then he lost his job. He was a carpet wholesaler or a carp fish processor. I'm not really sure. He slurs his words quite a bit. Last year, his son was killed on a motorbike or murdered with a knife. And 6 months ago, a close friend of his was killed in what sounds like a freak accident involving either a stray piece of glass or the spraying of some gas or a suspension bridge collapse. And now they're evicting him. He's asked for money. And God is answering. Could the evidence be clearer?
It's not clear to me.
Unfortunately, you're on the wrong floor. I can't help people up here on the 7th story. But the people on the 6th and 5th are well looked after.
You're answering all their prayers?
Not all. I try to spread things around a little. A toaster here, an electric heater there. Besides, they can't have everything they ask for. I've only got so much, and I wouldn't want them taking it for granted. Miracles don't just happen, you know? They require a great deal of prayer, even little miracles.
But you can't expect people to believe that this is God's work. They might as well believe in Santa Claus. And what's the procedure if you don't believe? Do you lower down overdue electric bills and eviction notices? You didn't!
What difference does it make?
You sent him that eviction notice?
I'm giving him the rent money. Everything will be fine now. He was lost, and now he's found.
Lost? The poor man lost his wife, his job, his son, his best friend. Isn't that punishment enough? You weren't involved with any of that, were you?
That's so typical.
What is?
It's just so easy to be cynical, isn't it?
Under the circumstances.
These people's lives have changed. You've never heard so many prayers as the ones that rise up from directly below this window.
No, I don't doubt it.
And that is the power of faith.
What is? Hoping for a toaster? How do you know it isn't the power of greed?
I don't know who you are, and I don't know who sent you, but I have a pretty good idea, and you're not going to alter my relationship with God.
I have no interest in your relationship with God.
You want to make me say something, but I won't.
I don't want to make you say anything. Don't be ridiculous. What on earth would I want you to say?
Oh, you know perfectly well.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Say, where did you get that drink? I've been looking everywhere. Nobody's drinking anything. Is this a new trend or what? First, nobody was smoking, so I had to give up smoking. I never really liked smoking, you know, but everybody was smoking, so I started smoking, and then I got hooked. Then everybody was quitting, so I had to quit. And now it looks like nobody's drinking. Everybody's walking. Everybody used to run. I'm glad that's over. Now everybody is walking. Nobody's running anymore. Well, I guess because everybody's getting older. Well, nobody's getting younger, that's for sure. Yeah. Everybody's in the same boat, and nobody's rocking it anymore. Everybody used to rock the boat. Everybody used to be different from everybody else, so nobody would be the same. But that didn't work because everybody was the same because everybody was different. Now everybody is just playing the same, except for you. You're drinking. I wish I was.
You've got your priorities all wrong, mister. You don't need a drink. You need God.
God? Nobody's doing God. Okay, some people were doing God, but not everybody. And that was before everybody was doing sex, and hardly anybody's doing sex anymore. Everybody's doing children, and walking, and gas ranges. Not God.
He's the devil.
No, he's not.
Well, he's not actually the devil. The devil doesn't make personal appearances. He acts through people.
What? You don't think that people are capable of acting on their own? You think the devil sent me?
Can you think of any other explanation?
Yes, I can.
Well, of course you can. You could probably come up with at least a dozen reasons why you're standing on the ledge outside my window. He's very good at making even the most perverse things seem perfectly reasonable.
Well, if you must know the truth.
The truth? How clever. Go ahead, try and seduce me.
Seduce you? I haven't got the slightest interest in you.
You know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Try and convince me that God doesn't exist.
Why would I do that? No, really. Why would I try and convince you that God doesn't exist? In the first place, I don't care whether you believe in him or not. And in the second place, I'm not really sure myself.
This is amazing. You are so devious, pretending that you don't care, even pretending that you sort of believe in God yourself.
But I'm not pretending.
And even pretending that you're not pretending.
This is hopeless.
Yes, it's hopeless. You won't make me say it.
Say what?
Well, I'm not going to say it, am I?
How do I know if I don't even know what you're going to say?
I have to admit that you're very shrewd. You think that if I act stupid enough, that somehow I'll confess to my doubts, but you'll never make me.
If I'm not mistaken, you already have.
I have not.
You said that you'll confess your doubts.
You've turned this whole thing inside out.
Well, I won't argue the point. I really don't care. I was merely concerned about the effect of your faith on other people, especially poor, desperate people.
What do you know about desperate people? When have you ever been desperate? Ask me about desperation. I'll tell you all about it. God has tested my faith in many horrible ways. He has sent me almost every disease imaginable. He has crippled me and bruised me and pushed me around. And as if that wasn't enough, he shoved my mother down a flight of stairs and turned her into a human vegetable. I had to care for her. I had to change her dirty clothes and feed her like a baby. She was my daily torment for 16 years until finally, out of sheer divine mercy, he gave her an overdose of 2,000 milligrams of diazepam.
It's even worse in the streetlight, darling. There's red in it.
Oh, please, are you blind?
It's not beige at all. It's pink. Look.
Why do I even argue with you? It's pointless.
But can't you see the red?
It's the reflection of the neon, dear. There's too much bounce out here from the lights. Where's your sense of color?
Well, what's wrong with this other shade?
It's not a shade. It's a tint, for heaven's sake. Please.
What's wrong with it?
Stop crying, for heaven's sakes!
Are we interrupting something?
No, nothing. Sorry, carry on.
No one will ever destroy my faith. Not you, not even God.
At least let her have her faith, for heaven's sake.
She can have it. I'm not stopping her.
What sort of faith are we talking about anyway?
My faith in God.
Oh, how interesting. Well, I know what it's like.
Yes. She has absolutely no faith in me.
Don't be ridiculous, Michael. Of course I do.
Then why don't you believe me when I tell you this has absolutely no pink tones?
Because it does. Would you mind giving us your opinion?
Really, Joan, you're not serious. You can't be.
I'm only asking.
This is an outrage.
Oh, dear. I've upset him. Excuse me. Michael!
That's murder, you know.
What is?
Giving your mother an overdose of diazepam. That's cold-blooded murder.
I didn't give her an overdose. She took the pills.
Oh.
She wanted to die, so God gave her the strength to do it.
Suicide is not an act of God.
How do you know?
Because it's a human act. It's the one act that defies all predestiny. And it's got nothing to do with anybody else. It stands alone, complete and of itself. What are you doing?
I'm praying.
Well, please don't. You're wasting your time. Unless there's somebody just like you on the 8th floor. Look, please, don't bother.
Do you want to go to hell someday?
Michael, please. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I can't help you if you want to go to hell.
I'm sorry, darling.
Go ahead. Make a fool out of me. See if I care.
Nobody's trying to make a fool out of you.
What does he know about hue? About value or intensity? About pair interpretation, for that matter? It's all subjective with him. Low and common. Is that what you want? The lowest common denominator? Consensus? 1,000 people all shouting, beige, beige. And who asks all the important questions? Which beige? Someone's got to ask the questions, Joan, or the world becomes nothing. Just a ugly great wash.
If you change your mind and decide to go to heaven, let me know.
Heaven? My goodness. She has a very high opinion of herself.
She was speaking theologically.
Am I forgiven then?
You must stop questioning my stylistic perceptions.
I don't.
You can't just go out and buy an ashtray or a vase.
I can't help it.
You've got to learn to disassociate yourself with emotions a little and finally come to terms with style.
I'm trying, Michael. I'm really trying.
And you can't just go off asking any idiot off the street what he thinks.
Well, he looked like he might be objective.
What does he know about the physiological capacities? What does he know about black, about white, about anything at all for that matter? He's nothing but an animal in an animal world. Now look at the way he's dressed. Can you seriously take his word for anything?
What's wrong with the way I'm dressed?
Nothing, darling. You look perfectly charming.
There's no thought. There's no justification. It's all mood, stream of consciousness.
I beg your pardon?
He's a walking fatality, a casualty of function.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Well, I couldn't help overhearing you.
I'm sorry, I was just being emphatic.
Michael is very emphatic.
If I'm not mistaken, you called me an idiot.
Try not to take it personally, darling.
I wasn't referring to you. You're no more an idiot than the next person.
I don't mind being called an idiot. It's not that. It's just that you don't know me.
Well, no, I don't. Why on earth would I?
Well, if you don't know me, how do you know I'm an idiot? What if I said you're an idiot?
You'd be an idiot for saying it. Now, let's discuss this green thing for a moment. Now, I'm not entirely adverse, but you must remember that unlike nature, where it's so pervasively vital, green can take on a role of defensiveness and obstinacy. It has a devious side.
But don't you think it reflects my character?
The character of a color depends entirely on the colors around it. You can't take the color out of context.
Just how is it that you can call me an idiot, but if I call you an idiot, I'm an idiot for saying it?
Do you mind? Who is this man?
I suppose he's a neighbor. Are you a neighbor?
No, and there's nothing wrong with the way I'm dressed either.
Nobody said there was. I don't make value judgments. I'm not a fascist.
Michael never makes value judgments.
I didn't say you were a fascist.
He's just being sensitive. Aren't you, Michael?
I'm not being sensitive. I am sensitive.
Of course you are.
I merely take exception to your sweeping generalizations about me and about the world at large. After all, you said I was nothing but an animal in an animal world.
I can't deal with this, Joan.
Of course you can't. You go inside for a moment, darling, while I send the gentleman away.
I just can't deal with it.
What's he so upset about? I'm the one who's been insulted.
Of course you have. Can I write you a check or do you want cash?
Why would I want cash?
Good. I'll write you a check then.
I don't want a check either.
No? Well, what do you want?
Nothing.
Oh. How interesting.
I certainly don't want money.
I'm sorry if my offer offended you. It's just that so often in situations involving Michael, it's much more expedient to simply buy one's way out.
Does he always go around insulting people?
Michael is an artist. People don't understand him. He's intensely visual. The sight of red with yellow gives him heart palpitations. Certain shades of magenta make him physically nauseous. He can feel the space around him so much so that he becomes the space. The presence of Dacron gives him the flu, so you can imagine how difficult he is. Very hard to keep up with. He's cost me a fortune, but it's worth it. Left on my own, I couldn't decorate a closet. I have absolutely no imagination, but I admire a perfect work of art. Although, it's something we've yet to achieve. Since I've known him, Michael and I have redecorated my apartment 18 times, including this one. 18 times, top to bottom. We're only halfway through this one, and already I know we'll have to start again. So, I hope you can understand the frustration. And if Michael insulted you, we apologize.
Well, thank you for explaining the situation. Although, as situations go, I have to admit, I don't really get it. Why would you go to all the trouble?
It is a lot of trouble, of course, yes. There are times when I felt like giving up. Michael gives me the inspiration to keep searching for that perfect constellation of form, texture, and color. We look on it as a lifetime challenge.
A lifetime is a lot of time.
There are a lot of choices, probably too many.
It sounds to me like you'll never be satisfied.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? But one day we'll find what we're looking for.
And then what?
Oh. What an interesting question. Perhaps it's a little too interesting. Michael!
Don't be compromised!
Nobody's compromising anybody! He thinks you're putting in your 2 cents worth about the apartment. People usually do. They think they know how to decorate because they think they know what they like. I used to be the same, but I'm trying not to have any opinions now. Sometimes it's difficult to be objective, though, isn't it? But one has to be, especially if you live in it. After all, on a purely subjective level, my apartment looks ridiculous. And I don't even have a decent, comfortable bed to sleep in. So you can understand why it's necessary for us to disassociate ourselves from our personal feelings. Personal feelings are so difficult anyway, whereas style is absolute. Whether it's absolutely this or absolutely that.
Dreary, isn't it?
Sorry?
My God, I feel like jumping. Right here and now. I'd rather splatter my guts all over the pavement than go back in there.
Oh, don't do that, darling. You leave too much up to chance. If you want to convey the right message, you may want to slash your wrists over a simple pale cotton print, for instance. It has a stronger impact, more clarity.
You don't really want to jump, do you?
Of course he doesn't. People don't jump from buildings anymore.
Why not?
The trend is much lighter, more whimsical.
He's talking about suicide.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about dying of boredom.
Well, if you'll excuse me.
I wonder if you could do me a favor.
Yes?
I wonder if you could call next door here in about 5 minutes, asking for me and sounding quite urgent. Say your name is Rhonda. I'll give you the number.
I'd love to oblige you, darling, but I no longer have a telephone. It didn't fit in with the decor.
Everybody has a telephone. Nobody doesn't have a telephone. How on earth does she survive?
It wouldn't be so bad.
I'd be lost. I wouldn't have a single friend. As it is now, I have 940.
Friends?
Yes.
You have that many friends?
Yes. Isn't it fabulous? People are always saying, I can't count the number of friends I have, when what they actually mean is that they only have a handful. Maybe 200, 300, but I can, and I've got 940.
I didn't think it was possible to be intimate with that many people.
Who said anything about being intimate? I couldn't care less about most of them.
Well, then they're not really friends, are they?
Why not?
The whole idea of friendship is that you like someone.
Why would I like them? They're awful. What an odd notion.
You don't like any of them.
Like is a big word. If we're counting friends that I like, I've actually got more sweaters. I've got 268 sweaters, but actually sort of like 3 of them. Of the friends that I have, let's see. No, I don't really like her, but I love her work. Can I count you?
What? As a friend?
No, as a friend I like. I already count you as a friend.
But I'm not.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not your friend.
Oh, well, I guess I'll have to put you in the don't like column then.
Don't put me in any column.
What?
I don't want to be in one of your columns.
Well, where would you suggest I put you?
Don't put me anywhere. You don't own me. I'm not a sweater.
What are you talking about? Of course you're not a sweater. You're not even wearing a sweater. Jennifer, I want you to meet a friend of mine.
I'm not his friend.
Well, any friend of Jack's is a friend of mine.
I'm not his friend.
That's all right. I'm not Jack.
You're not? Why aren't you?
Because I'm Percy.
Yes. Well, it's the details that start to ruin a perfectly good relationship. I like to know as little about a person as possible, preferably nothing at all.
I hope you guys don't think this is the way out.
Not unless you want to jump.
What's so funny about that?
Hi, don't I know you?
No,
Are you sure?
of course I'm sure.
I don't know a soul.
Well, I can introduce you. They're all my friends.
Are they? Well, they're certainly not mine.
I don't even know which one is the host.
I am.
Oh, well, it's a fabulous party. I wasn't invited. That's the only reason I'm here.
It's the best party I've been to in a long time. I've been to 111 parties this year, and this is one of the best. Oh, look, I think I see a friend of mine. Excuse me, will you?
Who's he?
A friend of his.
No, he's not.
Oh. Well, whoever he is, I hope he leaves and takes everybody else with him. Except for you two, of course.
I'm afraid I can't stay. As much as I'm enjoying this one, I'm due at another party any minute now.
Oh, whose party?
I'm sure you know her,
Probably.
but I can't remember her name. I'm not sure I even know her address. It's somewhere.
I'd love to come.
Why don't you? Why don't you both come?
I wasn't invited. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I just love your friend. He's so specific. Bye.
Isn't he? Who's she?
I haven't got any idea.
You meet the worst people at your own party.
Then why give a party?
Well, I don't want to be antisocial. Don't get me wrong, I love parties, if only it wasn't for the people at them. But this is really the worst part, isn't it?
What is?
The actual event. It's always such a crushing disappointment. From the minute the first guests arrive, I just want to evaporate into thin air. At my last party, I had to start a fire in the kitchen to get rid
You
of them.
started a fire?
Just a small one. But there was a lot of smoke. Cleared the place out quite nicely. It was 15 minutes before I was finally alone again.
Someone could have been seriously hurt.
Oh, the fire department was there instantaneously. I called them ahead of time. But I'll never try that one again. It was a hell of a mess. This time I'm taking a more subtle approach. There's no food, no drinks, the music is far too loud. Lots of people have already left.
Turn that god
I was actually planning on turning it up.
Oh, were you? Well, we'll just see about that.
Why don't you just call the police if you don't like it?
That's exactly what I intend to do.
If you do call, though, please tell them about all the drugs.
Drugs?
Well, thank God for the neighbors. This thing might have gone on forever, and we've got that other party to go to. You don't happen to remember the address, do you?
No.
Well, someone else is bound to know. That's where all these people will be going after they've heard it out of here.
Why would you bother getting rid of them just to follow them to another party?
I'm always hearing about parties I didn't go to. How great they were, what a fabulous time everybody had. The ones I miss are always the good ones. So I never miss one now. Are you coming?
I don't like parties.
Why did you come to this one then?
I didn't.
Well, what are you doing here?
Actually,
You're not thinking about jumping, are you? It's 7 stories.
yes, I know.
A guy could kill himself.
Well, yes, he could, but
I called the police.
This guy's gonna jump, lady.
Really?
You sure you wouldn't rather go to this party?
If he wants to jump, why don't you let him?
look, I didn't say I wanted to. I don't know what I'm doing. I really.
Would you like us to convince you?
Is that Albert?
No, it isn't Albert. It's a man. He's thinking about jumping off the side of the building.
Why doesn't he then?
That's what I asked.
Look, this has nothing to do with either of you. Why don't you both go inside and just carry on with your lives?
You don't mind if I go to this party then?
No, of course I don't mind.
It's not that I don't care about your plight or anything. It's just such a downer. That's all. Anyway, this nurse looks pretty serious. Maybe she can talk you out of it.
I am serious, and I'm not talking him out of anything.
Look, the police will get here any minute. Just hang on until they get here. I gotta go. I don't even know where I'm going, so who knows how long it'll take to get there.
Some friend.
He's not a friend.
Albert?
It's not Albert, Mrs. Wright. Albert's gone. He flew away.
Why?
You know why. Because he's a bird. God, I hate old people.
Who's a bird?
Albert! Albert's a bird! We let him go, remember? We let him go because he was unhappy.
Oh,
She remembers the whole thing.
no, I don't.
She's supposed to be deaf, but she can hear the grass growing. So, what's stopping you?
Huh?
What's stopping you from jumping? Wait, let me guess. You're afraid of heights. Now, that's a pity. Letting a little thing like that stand in the way of your suicide when really it's such a perfectly logical thing to do.
Logical?
I started out my career thinking I wanted to save people's lives. Imagine.
I think that's very noble.
A lot you know. Where's the nobility in watching people hang on to the last shred of a meager existence? Hooked up to every imaginable medical apparatus. Jumping is the only way to go these days, otherwise you run the serious risk of a protracted survival. My, doesn't the sidewalk look inviting from here?
I'd rather not look down if you don't mind.
Aren't you even the least bit curious?
I can imagine what it's like.
I suppose you expect me to ask you what your reasons are for jumping.
You're probably not interested.
You're probably right.
Nobody seems terribly interested.
Why should they be? Death isn't terribly interesting. I work in a hospital when I'm not here cleaning up after this thing, and I can tell you firsthand, death isn't the least bit interesting. In fact, it's very routine. Besides, people are too busy to be interested in other people's problems. These days, you have to pay someone to be interested.
Busy doing what?
Finding reasons not to jump themselves.
So what's your reason?
Me? I'm a humanitarian.
You don't seem the type.
Oh? What type is that?
You don't seem very, well, very friendly.
Why should I be friendly? I despise almost everyone I meet.
I thought humanitarians were supposed to like people.
I like people on the whole. It's individuals I can't stand.
Has he jumped yet?
No, he's vacillating.
What?
He hasn't made up his mind yet, one way or the other.
He shouldn't be so tentative.
I have made up my mind.
Oh, he has made up his mind. The police will be here soon. You better go now or they'll definitely talk you out of it. They're experts. They'll listen to all your problems. They sympathize with every one of them. Eventually, they convince you that life has some meaning, that there's some little thread to hang on to. So you hang on as they slowly reel you in, but you never let go again, not for the rest of your life. The next thing you know, you're old, and by that time you've been hanging on so long and so tightly to that little thread that it practically has to be pried loose.
You know something? You're astonishingly morbid.
What seems to be the problem?
I already told you, Mrs. Wright. I'm not going to tell you again.
Well, get out of my way then.
You're not supposed to be up and around.
Where is this man?
Die of heart failure. See if I care.
She doesn't really want me to die because then she'd have to fill out a form.
I've already filled it out.
I'm 100 years old. Does that impress you?
That's very old.
Yes. They send people like her to look after me.
She's not very nice.
She doesn't have a very nice job. Looking after sick people, waiting for them to die. So she thinks that she has to pretend she has no feelings.
I haven't.
But she's afraid. Don't pay any attention to her. Oh my. What a lovely evening.
I never noticed.
I haven't looked out this window in years. I used to go out on evenings like this. I walked down to the end of that street and took the streetcar as far as it went. Up where there weren't any houses. That's where we stopped. That's where the streetcar turned around. As though the world was flat, and that was the end of it, where you fell off. That was about 70 years ago. So I imagine the houses go quite a bit further now. But not far enough, of course. I imagine the streetcar eventually stops somewhere and turns around.
There isn't any streetcar.
There isn't?
There hasn't been one for about 30 years.
Well, that just goes to show you what I know. I haven't gone out since, well, in about 50 years.
50 years?
Well, as I said, you can really only go out so far, and then you've got to turn around and come back. I find that somewhat limiting. I prefer to go nowhere at all. As it turns out, my apartment is much larger than I thought. In fact, it's enormous.
It can't be more than a few hundred feet at the most.
Yes. It's almost too much to grasp, isn't it? Of course, it looks a lot smaller now, since she came to look after me. She cleaned it all up, put everything in order, kicked Albert out. She has a very sanitary point of view, doesn't like pigeons. I imagine he'll come back, though, when he's had enough of flying.
He's not coming back in here.
I used to have all kinds of things piled up against this window, until they came and took everything away. And once Albert saw the window, there was just no keeping him. After all those years, his little head was suddenly filled with big ideas.
All what years?
Those years.
Pigeons don't live that long.
How long?
How many years are we talking about exactly?
Oh, I don't know. About 50.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Must be a riddle.
I don't get it.
Neither do I. Well, it's just a story. It's not important. People attach too much importance to these things. That reminds me of another story. Oh my. What a lovely evening.
You were going to tell me something?
What about?
I don't know. Something reminded you of a story?
A story? Let's see.
I guess you don't remember. It's not important, really. I thought it might be, well, important somehow.
You're looking for something important?
No, well, I'm looking for something, yes.
I don't have anything. Just an empty room. It'll be coming up for rent soon if you're interested.
No, I'm not looking for a room.
It's a place to hang your hat, to sort out all your shoes.
I don't need to sort out my shoes. All my shoes are the same. Every pair identical. All 7 pairs. I have 7 hats also, all like this one. I have one for every day of the week. Only I can't remember what day it is.
Oh,
I've lost track, you see. I went to sleep and I had a dream. I think it was a dream. I dreamt I got up, made my way to work, and when work was over, I came home and went to bed. And then I woke up. I think I woke up.
it's Wednesday.
It is?
I don't know, but I thought it would make you feel better.
Not really. You see, my faith in the days of the week has been seriously undermined. When I woke up this morning, I wasn't exactly sure what day it was. And for that brief moment, it was only a matter of seconds. I think it was seconds. I stood, or I should say, I lay on very shaky ground. After all, how could I act with assuredness? How could I rise up and plunge headlong into Friday's world if it was actually Saturday? And so I lay completely still for a moment, pondering this question. That's when I noticed my hands. I never noticed them before. How they move with amazing dexterity. But this flexibility, this movement of hands, can never extend beyond the boundaries of its own flesh. Can only reach as far as the fingertips and no further, much as the movement of time is restricted by the days of the week. So I got up and tried to erase these things from my mind. I tried to get dressed, but then I began to understand how other things, for example, the meaning of shoes, they were little prisons for my feet, absolute definitions of space. I could run millions of miles in any direction and still not escape them. And my hat, forming a firm idea around my head, as if to say, well, that's about the size of it. My mind could expand into infinite space and still never change the shape of my head. I saw in the mirror a condemned man serving a life sentence inside his body. Even the car I drove to work, my car, this thing, this instrument of liberation, it wasn't freedom. It was merely the idea of freedom bound in metal, a kind of hope, but with a speed limit attached to it. Now I was traveling an unknown route along a familiar road, and led in exactly the direction I was going, but not by coincidence. The asphalt was not laying itself a path in front of me. I was merely following a prearranged course, and then something happened. Something that has never happened before. When I finally arrived in town at my usual space, it was taken. I was late for work, you see, and there was another car in my space. Someone had taken my space, you see. I sat in my car for a moment, not knowing where to go, just staring straight ahead. And then I put my car into gear and drove into it. Drove right into the other car. There didn't seem to be any other choice. No place else to go, you see. So I put my car in reverse, backed up, and rammed into this car again, and then again, and again, and again, until finally this other car, this intruder of my space, was smashed up against the side of a building like an accordion. So now I had my space back, and I parked. I got out of the car, I turned to head to my office. That's when I realized it wasn't my space at all. Somehow I got completely turned around. This wasn't anywhere near where I worked. I didn't know where I was. I hadn't any idea. I had always depended on the road which led there. The way I've always believed one thing leads to another. Then I saw this building. I thought I'd come up here to get a better perspective on my exact situation. And from here, the view is quite clear. There are no spaces left, you see. I have no place to park my car.
Have you tried the bay?
Don't you understand?
Of course I understand. You didn't need to make such a long speech. When you're 100 years old, you'll understand everything. And then you'll die.
Why wait?
Something interesting might happen. But then again, it might not. I think you should jump now.
You do?
If that's what you want to do, I think you should do it.
There really is no reason to live, is there?
Not really.
It's sort of disappointing. I wonder where they'll tow my car.
Oh, now I remember.
What?
That story. Some years ago, I went to Paris to see the Mona Lisa. It's in the Louvre, the largest building in the world, probably. But the Mona Lisa, as it turns out, is very small. So naturally, I couldn't find it. I kept looking for something big. Then I saw a huge crowd of people all standing around, looking disappointed. And there she was, smiling as if she knew.
That's it? That's the whole story?
You do like a long story, don't you? Let's see. There was a young Frenchman standing next to me in a terrible state of despair. He began talking to me as if he'd known me all his life. I didn't understand a word he was saying, but he didn't seem to take any notice. I thought I'd lose him in the crowd, but he followed me right out of the museum. He told me a very long and involved story, often punctuating the words with his fists. Occasionally, he would sink into a sadness the like of which I'd never seen. And then he would start raving again. The further we walked, the more distressed he became, the more enraged. By the time we reached the Pont Neuf, he was sobbing uncontrollably. It seemed very clear that he wanted me to say something. We hadn't walked halfway across when he started to climb over the side of the bridge. I didn't know what to say, so I blurted out the only thing in French that I'd ever learned. La pamplemousse est sur la table. I don't even know what it means, but he responded very positively. He thought about it for a moment and then smiled. After that, his mood changed considerably. In fact, he was delighted. Whatever it was I said, it seemed to be something for him to hang his hat on. And he walked away a new man, determined, it seemed, to live by this philosophy the rest of his life.
It doesn't mean anything.
It must mean something. I learned it in school.
The grapefruit is on the table?
Oh. Is that what it means? Well, that's not a bad philosophy to live by, as philosophies go. It has a certain preciseness.
How have you managed to stay alive so long?
I forget.
Shut up in your room like that, never going out.
There are other places to go besides out. There's in, there's around, there's under, over, between.
Down.
Well, you might go down, but you might go up. If you're going to go to all the trouble of jumping, you might as well try going up and see what happens. Albert went up, straight up.
Albert was a pigeon.
He didn't know that. Not for sure. He'd never flown a day in his whole life, not until the day we let him go. You could be the first of a kind. Imagine what a story that would make. You'd be interviewed by just about every newspaper in the world. You'd travel around giving lectures. You'd be an inspiration to others. There'd be people flying all over the place. That sort of thing has to start somewhere. It might as well start with you. If you're going to give up your life anyway, you may as well give it up to something. The principle is very simple. You just have to let go and let the wind currents do the rest. You know about airflow, don't you?
I really don't think.
No, don't think. The important thing is to just let it happen. Let it take you where it wants. Don't try to go anyplace special this first time. Just do a circle once around the building and come back. Once you get a better feel for it, you can go a little further.
Stop! This is the police!
Go!
I don't know what to do. I can't fly.
Just stay calm. Don't move.
Don't listen to them. They're all trying to put the world in order. They don't want people flying around all over the place. They'd have to make up a whole bunch of new regulations. That's just bullshit.
Are you sure?
Just go. Just up and away.
Stop!
Just like that?
Stay right where you are.
I'm supposed to stay right where I am.
Go.
All right. I'm going.
Then go.
Goodbye.
We saw that.
What?
We saw you fly over here from that building across the street.
You did?
We've been watching the whole thing.
You have?
Yes, we have.
We saw you talk to that old lady.
To all those people.
We saw the whole thing from beginning to end.
And then we saw you fly over here and land.
There's just one thing.
We don't get it.
What's the flying supposed to represent? Is it an existential statement or what?
It's a Jungian thing, isn't it?
I don't agree. I think it's
Is
political.
it about enlightenment?
There's a suggestion of mass revolt.
There's an archetypal quality about it.
I detect strong religious overtones.
I think it's just weird.
Will you excuse me? Hello? Hello? Oh.
Yes.
The old lady. I'd like to speak to her. I have to tell her about something. Something quite incredible.
Yeah. Well, she's gone.
Gone? So sudden. She was here just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, well, that's the way it always happens. So, what's this something incredible? As if I really want to know.
It was nothing.
I thought you were going to jump off the ledge.
I did.
Oh, you did you?
Yes, I did. I flew across the street to that building and back.
I suppose you want to come inside now?
I'm just fine where I am.
You can't stay perched out there forever.
Why not?
Because it's abnormal behavior.
Not for a pigeon.
You're not a pigeon.
Yes, I know that now. But for a moment, for a brief moment, I didn't know. And the wind carried me up and took me along for a ride. And I forgot. I forgot my own story. And I flew on the wings of someone else's.
This is the police.
I have to forget. Try to forget everything. Forget everything that has ever happened to me. Everything that will happen. Everything, and wait. Just wait for the wind again. And do nothing. Nothing. And wait. Just
All right, ladies and gentlemen, break it up. Just break it up now and go home. Come on, move along now, ladies and gentlemen. Everything will be fine.
Everything's under control, so let's just disperse for this little gathering and go home. The show's over.
7stories was written by Morris Panich. It was directed by Courtney Chang Lancaster and Kimberly Rampersad. It featured Andre Sills, Gabrielle Sunder Singh, Nicole Joy Fraser, Alan Lewis, Tom Rooney, and Kyra Harper. The edit, sound design, and audio mix are by Gregory J. Sinclair. Tarragon Acoustic was created and produced in association with Laura Mullen and Chris Tolley of Play Me Podcast. Be sure to check out the recording of our playwriting masterclass with Morris Panich held on November 12th as Morris explores the nature of comedic and satirical writing. Click the link below to access this exciting class.